Can you count me down from back there?
They have a remote mic, camera? They have a remote camera?
Yes. Well, hello, welcome to Time to Talk. I'm Argie Holliman, and we are glad that you could join us again on this January 22nd, 2020. We're fully into the decade now, and we are just looking forward to great shows, and we have another great show for you today. Today, we're talking to Talib El-Amin, right here from Grand Rapids, and Brother El-Amin has done a lot of interesting things that I have known about over his lifetime. You actually grew up in Grand Rapids, right?
Grade school, high school, and college. I'm local.
Yes, local, right here. And you've done a lot of interesting things. You've owned African American bookstores. You've done a lot of history. In fact, you've been on Time to Talk way back in the past, talking about Egypt and the history of Egypt and the history of how things all relate a lot to Egypt and to Africa. And of course, even you and your late queen, Shahida, were on my Valentine's show at one time, and we do want to give you our condolences. We all lost her last year.
I had 51 fantastic years, so I was blessed.
Yes,
I
yes.
was blessed. She taught me a lot.
Yes, I know she did. I know she did. And El-Amin has been an adjunct professor at different colleges right here in the Grand Rapids area, community college. You're doing something right now with your cousin, Lois Thomas, at Calvin.
Yeah, I've been adjunct at Davenport, at Grand Valley, at CC, and did a lecture for Aquinas and co-lectured class twice at Calvin.
And you've done a lot of writing as well.
Writing, editing. I've been fortunate enough to edit 5 books and quite a bit of travel, research.
Quite a bit of travel. And that travel includes to Egypt, Africa.
Yes, I was in Egypt in 1989 with Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, who was on your program. We were on the program together.
Yes.
He's Egyptologist, and I studied with him for about 26 years.
Long time.
Yes, and I visited West Africa with the Sister Cities program. I went to sign the declaration, the agreement between Grand Rapids and the GA District with
To be our sister city.
Yes, with Mary Edmond.
And they're still our sister city, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we were in Ghana, Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire. Then in September, I went to South Africa for the October 19th 19 years coronation celebration for the Queen of Sheba, Queen Sheba Kasam Bura III. And I'm heading back on the 11th of February to South Africa for the World Peace Committee Summit in South Africa, and 202 nations will be represented, and I was invited to participate.
Now we want our viewers to know your proper title.
Okay.
Okay.
When I was invited to the United Nations. I was given the title His Excellency, and I was appointed to the Royal Court, the Imperial Court of Queen of Sheba. So it's His Excellency Commissioner Numo Talib El-Amin.
Congratulations. That is quite a title. That is quite a title. And you were just here when we just did our Kwanzaa show on Time to Talk. I enjoyed that show, and I enjoyed you being a part of it. And you and I were talking about that you were a part of the royal coronation of the Queen of Sheba. And I said, I didn't know there was still a Queen of Sheba. I know
Yes.
the Queen of Sheba in the Bible,
Yes.
okay, that met with King Solomon, and she brought many, many gifts, and she was very beautiful and very wealthy, and she was very impressed with him with his knowledge. Of course, he was the wisest person
Well,
in the world, as
But
we
they only
understand
told
it.
us part of the story. Think about this. Do you know, did you read what her name was when you were reading that story?
Queen of the East or Queen of the
No,
South?
her name.
Her name, Queen of Sheba?
No.
No.
She was the queen, like the Queen of England, we know her name.
Uh-huh.
The
Like
Queen of
Elizabeth.
Sheba, they never told us her name.
Never told us her name. No,
I
we
wonder
didn't.
why. See, she was actually Makeda the seventh. The seventh, so that means there was six before her. Queens of Sheba. Sheba was the kingdom, actually queendom, but the ancient kingdom, and it's the oldest throne known on earth. And this lady that I am functioning with is the reigning Queen of Sheba, and her name, Her Imperial Majesty Empress Queen Sheba Kasambu Ra III. She's the third with the name Sheba on the throne.
Where is she located right
Well,
now?
right now she's in South Africa,
What
Castle
part?
Kyalami, in between Johannesburg and Pretoria, in Kyalami, and that's where I'll be heading, and that's where the World Peace Summit.
And as Queen of Sheba, I'm sure it's more than just a title.
Yes.
What are her responsibilities?
Actually, if you read Matthew 12:42
In
and
the
Luke,
Bible?
yes,
Okay.
and Luke 11:31, it'll tell you that her title, one of her titles, is the Queen of the South. Now, I'm a student of Scripture, and I read that many times, and it never stuck in my head until I got into the royal libraries and found that that's always been a title of the Queen of Sheba, because she's the Queen of the South world.
The South world,
Yes.
which covers
All the way around the earth, south of the Caucasus Mountains.
okay.
And it
That's a lot of territory.
it extends into India, Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa Valley, India, all the way to Korea. And it extends into South America, Central America, and the Caribbean, going west.
Is when someone is the Queen of Sheba or the Queen of Sheba that we're talking about right now, are you born into that position?
Yes, it's bloodlines, royal bloodline. Her family, her grandparents immigrated to Trinidad and Tobago back in I think it was the 1940s, but her family before that actually went there, my dates, 1823, 1831. They were invited in to operate the cocoa and sugar plantations because of their experiences in West Africa. They came out of Sheba, across Nigeria, into Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, and the lineage. And so you can find the lineages, and that one of the pictures that I just posted on my Facebook page shows her in West Africa and various kings and queens around there. She holds the title of Yomo Guatele in Ghana, and she has titles in Cote d'Ivoire, Penango. So she's actually queen in numerous places.
Okay, she's up
She's
there.
the queen of queens.
She's very powerful. Okay. How did you get in this position
Amazing.
to meet the Queen of Sheba, to interact with her, to know so much about her?
I'm a student, serious student. I'm a researcher. And I was...
And look, tell us about this picture while you're
that's
talking.
when we were at an affair in London, a castle in London, no, outside of London. And we had,
And this is the Queen of Sheba.
Right, that is her. That's she.
Okay, she's
Sheba
very
Kasambu
beautiful.
Ra. Yeah. And we had left South Africa and went to this affair in outside of London. and that was at the dinner. In fact, it was a big awards function and dinner. And when I sat down and there were 5 forks place setting, I said, oh, we're in for something formal here.
Here we go. Okay.
Luckily, my wife had already taught me
Okay.
what to do.
Okay.
So we were in London then, and I, as a member of the Royal Court, she invited me to come to London for this event after we had spent 5 weeks in South Africa for the coronation and the build up to that and studying.
Okay. So now let's back up.
But my original encounter, I read this article on the internet, and it was a very intriguing article, very interesting, and it dealt with Nile Valley civilization. But
It dealt with what?
Nile Valley civilization, which is ancient Egypt, Nile Valley, Nubia, Sheba kingdoms.
Okay, Nile Valley, okay.
I noticed some typos or some things, some grammatical errors, and that's one of the things I do, is edit and proofread. So I edited, proofed the article, and sent it back to them and made a suggestion. If you do these things, it'll read more easily for people, and people won't stumble over the errors. And they wrote me back and thanked me and changed the article. Then I read a second article by this Queen of Sheba, Sheba Kassan.
It was by the Queen of
Sheba?
Sheba? The second
article was by her. And it was more in British style English, her being from Trinidad, and I made some corrections, say, if this is going to be standard English and the people in the United States read it, these are some suggestions again. And there was a third article that I ran across. I did the same thing, and they invited me, why don't you join our editorial board?
Oh, wow.
No problem. That's what I do anyway.
Okay.
Every book I have, there's red marks in it, right, and the corrections. So after I did that, she found, I guess checking my background, that I was a serious researcher, and she gave me access to the Royal Libraries. And for 5 years, well, their libraries, they're contained in different places, but access through the internet. So I spent the next 5 years actually combing through and editing and proofing things in the library, and gained a vast historical knowledge of the throne lineages and how the lines went and where they went and when they went to where they went and how they got to India and how they got to Korea. And
that must have been like heaven for you.
Yes, it was. And
Because
my
you love
my wife
research.
allowed me to
Yes.
do all this research. And subsequent to that, in 2014, the Queen nominated me to become a chief. And I
To
went
become a what?
A chief.
A chief?
Yes.
Okay.
So
and what did that mean? You were chief of what?
Well, I'm a warrior chief
A warrior chief.
in Ghana, and my
In
name,
Ghana?
yes, my name is Asafuache Ni Kwakwe the First. And but I was in her court as opposed to a chief of a kingdom or a chieftaincy in Ghana. So as opposed to becoming a chief there, I remained with the royal court.
Which
And
meant what?
I serve the queen, the throne, and I do writings, I do blogs. We had a Royal Task Force Academy for people desiring to learn the history and to serve worldwide, and I was dean of the academy for a few years.
Okay. And did you do that work in
Here.
the United States?
From
or?
here.
Okay.
From here. Everything's
'Cause
online.
thank goodness for the internet,
Yeah,
right?
hopefully they'll put up the website, the web address. It's African-Kingdoms-Federation.com.
Okay.
And people can go there.
African Kingdoms.
No, African-Kingdoms.
Okay, African-
Federation.com.
Kingdom. Federation.com.
Right. But if you just put in African Kingdoms Federation, it should
Okay.
come up.
Okay, we'll try to get that in a bit.
There's tons and tons and tons of information there, and volumes of information. People will ask me, well, tell me about it. Well, I can only give you part of a thumbnail sketch. There's so much. So I give people the site and say, go do some looking around, and then ask me specific questions that you need to give you an understanding. So
What are
that's
some
what I've
of the
been
questions people,
Who
when
is the
they
Queen
look
of Sheba?
around, do ask you?
Who is this Queen of Sheba?
Who is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I can explain that. And
yeah.
I do. And I talk about her parentage.
Because just like
and
me,
lineage.
I was like, I didn't know the Queen of Sheba was
99%
still
of
living.
us, 99% of us in America did not know. And Nile Valley history and civilizations is what I thought I knew. But the imperial throne was left out. The throne of Ethiopia comes from the throne of Sheba. That's one of the 7 lines, the 7 major throne lines that people the world.
Why do you think it was left out? I know. That's another show.
The writers, the compilers, for some reason, didn't want people to be able to trace this throne, this lineage, to know that it was an African throne. And it's sort of, in our minds, it was back then, something historical.
That's something that doesn't have anything to do with us today.
Absolutely.
And no connection.
None.
But there is a connection.
Absolutely.
When you find out more, then you know where you came from. And when you know where you came from, then you know how powerful you really are.
Absolutely.
Because it's in your bloodline. Right?
If you know the past,
yes.
you can better understand the present. And if you understand the present, you can better prepare for the future. Most of us were not taught the past. So we're here, and what we see and hear now is what we think is all there is to know. And
So tell us about the coronation. What was the coronation about? Because she's already
okay.
the Queen of
Yes,
Sheba.
this was 19th year celebration of her coronation. There was a new crown, the crown that was in the picture that was created for this. And
where she's sitting on the throne, that
yes,
picture?
the new
Okay,
throne.
we'll get this one, this
yes,
picture?
that's it.
Okay.
And that was immediately after the crown was put on her and the scepter. I was a scepter bearer. And the scepter is in her hand. But that crown and throne were commissioned and designed specifically for her. Those are lions at the end of the armrest,
Okay.
because she loves lions.
Uh-huh.
And it was specially done for her. And the crown was done originally in Korea and then modified with those crystals. I forget the name. Swartz.
It was quartz?
Yes, no, Swartz. I forget the name. These crystals, Swartz.
Oh, Swarovski?
Yes.
Okay, the crystal maker, the highly
I'm not
known
into
crystal
that.
maker? Yeah.
Yes.
Swarovski, yeah.
And so
Okay.
she's been 19 years developing what she called Project 7 Phoenix, a worldwide program to rebuild every kingdom in Africa and kingdoms around the world duplicated with that. Her goal is the oneness of humanity and to uplift humanity. She recognizes human beings.
That's a major project.
That was why it was so profound to me. I hadn't come across anybody who was concerned about all the people of the world before and had a program in writing. And once I delved into that program and saw how vast it was, I was hooked. I was hooked. And she
Where is-
realized that.
Okay. Where is she going to start with this?
Well, it's already started. We have plans. In fact, we're talking about building new cities across the continent. We're talking about new transport systems, above ground transport systems, linear cities, the transports that'll link countries and cities across the continent. We're talking futuristic. We're talking 50, 75 years down the road, and the seeds are being planted. and she's talking to kings and queens in various parts of the continent. This is what we have. This is how we can develop your area. You explain to us what you think your needs are. Then we develop programs and use your natural resources to pay for those. We're talking about the agriculture, the infrastructure, the water, the schools, the businesses, housing, all these type things to build, because the colonizers did not do a very good job in development. They left Africa behind. They took the resources and then didn't do a good job. So you got major cities, but they're old, and they haven't really kept up with the infrastructure and people coming in from rural areas and populations. So we're talking about developing out in the rural areas too, so everybody doesn't feel they have to go to the city for employment and for opportunity, what have you. So we've got a continent-wide 55 nation program for the continent of Africa and development.
Wow. And I was going to ask you, how would this get paid for? But like you said, she's saying that there's already resources there, plenty of resources. The gold is there, the diamonds are there, the copper is there, the titanium is there. Am I right? Okay.
Coltan, uranium, bauxite, chocolate.
Diamonds, all those type of things.
The resources are there.
But
They've just
people
been taken
don't have
out.
control. Many of those nations, kingdoms, don't have control over their resources. That's why they're so poor.
Well, France, to this day, is getting $500 billion a year in reparations from West African nations. When they signed agreements that they would allow them to be, quote unquote, free, their banking, their money, everything has to go through France. And
this has
they
not
control the
happened.
money. This is going on now.
It's going on right now.
In fact,
the reparations. How many billion?
500.
500
a year,
billion.
Annually.
And annually, okay.
The money, if those nations want to get their money, they have to go through France, the banking system of France, to borrow their money and pay the loans on.
Why should it be a loan?
Because that's the way the colonial masters set it up. See,
okay. I take what's
very
yours,
crafty.
then I make you borrow it
Yeah.
at interest.
Right.
Okay.
But now.
And if you want it, you got to do what I say.
Now, there's going to be, in fact, it's already started. Several of the West African nations says we're no longer going to deal with the French franc, and they call them the Francophone countries, and we're going to have our own money. All of a sudden in Cote d'Ivoire, they're fighting and dropping bombs, talking about a coup.
Where'd that come from?
Where do the arms come from? The only arms manufacturers on the continent is in South Africa. And we don't control the arms. So there's going to be conflict. However, we're going to stand up to it and continue along the peaceful route and develop these countries, develop the children, develop the people, and make this a place where anybody may want to go and live.
We're talking to His Excellency Commissioner Numo Talib Alamin, who has been appointed as a member of UN High-Level Financial Technology Committee for MOBI or MOBI?
The MOBI.
MOBI dollar, the world common currency, which is based on Earth productivity at the event hosted by ISEA Foundation during the UN's 56th Commission for Social Development. And he's telling us about the Queen of Sheba, who is currently sitting on the throne. How does that go? Does she sit on the throne until she goes to another
another
plane,
dimension.
another dimension, and then the next Queen of Sheba comes up?
And there is a process where they identify the queen.
Okay.
One of the, back when she was identified, one of the marks is born with gray hair.
Born
white hair.
with gray hair?
White hair.
White hair?
White, gray.
White, gray hair? Born with it?
Yes. She
That's
wore,
a very
as
different
a youngster,
trait.
As a youngster, she wore wigs to blend in.
To cover up the gray hair?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And even through the first 15 years of her reign, she wore the ceremonial wigs, like the ancient Egyptian. You remember the wigs that the queens wore? She wore those. And we had a conversation.
You had a conversation?
Yes, and for the first time, she did a video and she released it to us, and she didn't have on the wig. And
So you saw her gray hair?
Yes, I made a comment. Your hair is fabulous. And she said, yeah, I'm supposed to wear these ceremonial wigs, and that's been the tradition in us. You're the queen. You can do as you please. So now you see the white hair. Now
Okay.
she's had the braids and different stuff, but that was the result of that.
Okay. So is the Queen of Sheba married with
No,
children?
She has 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, and she's had 2 husbands.
At
Transition.
the same time?
No.
Okay. I'm just saying.
The first husband, she had 2 children, and he passed away. He's
Okay.
a young guy, young person. And the second husband passed away.
Okay.
And she had a ceremonial, they married, throne marriage, which is not a marriage.
Uh-huh.
And that's how she got the title Sai, S-A-I. So it's Sheba Kasambu Sai Ra.
What
And
does
then
that
he
mean?
passed. That was the throne, his family royal name was Sai.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And he died a few years back.
A few years back, he passed away. Okay. All right.
So
and
she's
where
a
does
widow.
she live right now?
She lives right now in South Africa,
In
Kyalami
South
Castle.
Africa. Okay. Does she live like in a royal palace or anything?
In a castle. In a castle.
She does what?
She lives in a castle.
She lives in a castle.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The castle.
Did you have the chance to go there?
Yes, the castle is owned by the Church of Scientology.
The Church of Scientology?
Yes.
Okay. What's the connection there?
The enthronement, the ceremony was held at the castle, and at the end, I guess you would call him pastor, who did the oath and all that you're going to uphold everybody and the people. And at the end, he said, and you are our queen. So she is the queen of Scientology also, and that's worldwide. Amazing. It was like being in a movie.
Okay. And what was that like for you to sit down, have these conversations with the Queen of Sheba?
Initially, I always see myself as a humble person. So I approached our initial conversation with respect and as a listener. And she's so engaging, she talks like we're talking. And when we get into deep conversations, deep subject matter, she's just fluid. So it was great exchanges. And this went on for 5 weeks. So
That had to be awesome.
yeah, and I never lost track of the fact that she was Her Imperial Majesty. And I was just a member of the court. So,
Okay.
and I never got to where I thought I knew more than she did, because it was obvious I did not. And there are not too many people that I've met that know more about the Nile Valley civilizations than I do, because I studied what they studied. She runs circles around anybody I've met.
So she's well versed, well educated.
She
Tell
can
us
sit
about
here and tell you,
her educational
oh my
background.
goodness. Well, I didn't even get all that down, but she was educated initially in Trinidad, Tobago, and she went to university in Holland. The Dutch have been in Trinidad for quite over 150 years. In fact, the Dutch in West Michigan are related to the Dutch who were down there. So she went to school over there and she studied law, I know for sure. She studied music. The law stuck out to me because anybody who studies law, I know they're a serious student. But she studied, she's
how many languages
trained.
does she speak?
I don't know. That didn't come up. I know she's fluent in Dutch. She speaks French. And she speaks one of the Indian languages. I don't know if it was Hindi, one of the languages from India, because there's a lot of Indians in Trinidad too. And she went to a Catholic girls' school.
Okay.
So she's got that background.
Okay. We're talking to simplify it, I'm going to say Brother Elamine about his interactions and work. He's actually worked for the Queen of Sheba and met with the Queen of Sheba and been a part of her royal court. We're going to take a break in just a minute, and then we'll come back and talk more about the Queen of Sheba and Brother Elamine's travels and his knowledge of what's going on around our world. Okay, so you're watching Time to Talk, and our live call-in number for the next show is 616-459-4881. That's 459.
4881.
Thank you. See, you are very knowledgeable, Brother Elamine.
I try and listen.
Okay, you're watching Time to Talk. We'll be right back.
Why do local businesses spend their marketing dollars with Community Media Center? Because it's more than just passive advertising. It is an investment in the community that is eager to invest in you. The Community Media Center makes Grand Rapids vital. We collaborate with local businesses and support events in West Michigan. Inclusive. We amplify local voices that tell the diverse and ever-changing stories of our community. Creative. We encourage artists to showcase and expand their talents and to shape the look and sound of Grand Rapids. Marketing with the CMC will let our community know who you are and increase brand recognition for your business. At the end of the day, we are a resource that will keep you connected to the community. Share your message with diverse audiences by underwriting with WYCE, GRTV, Wealthy Theater, and the Rapidian. Join us in building a stronger community through media. Contact us at marketing@grcmc.org.
Did you know that you're watching GRTV right now? That's right, this show, Weekly View, is airing on Grand Rapids' own public access station. And the great thing about a public access station is that you can put your video on GRTV too. Your video about woodworking, politics, movies, comics, parrots, economics, anything. It can all go on GRTV. And if you don't have a video yet, we can help you there too. We have classes that are super cheap and equipment you can use for free. Go to the GRTV website, grtv.org/classes, or give us a call at 616-459-4788 to sign up. You can even stop by for a free tour anytime, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday from 12 to 9. We're located at 711 Bridge Street, right above the Bridge Street Library. GRTV is your place to find local shows made by local producers. And if you turn in your own show, you can watch yourself.
Hello, welcome back to Time to Talk. I'm Argie Holliman, and my guest today is Brother T.A. Elamin, and who is His Excellency Commissioner Numo Talib Elamin. And he was appointed that by the Queen of Sheba, right?
The current reigning Queen of Sheba.
And he was on the royal court of the Queen of Sheba. And he's telling us all about the Queen of Sheba. You know, Time to Talk, we focus on education, information, and positive entertainment. So this is very educational and informational to tell us about the Queen of Sheba and what's going on. She's living today. There has always been a Queen of Sheba,
yes,
which I didn't know, and I try to study a lot.
It's hard to find the information.
It's hard to find the information.
Because it's not in
readily
front of the
available.
libraries, but it's there.
But it's there. Okay, okay. And Brother Elamin is a student. A student and a
serious
teacher,
student.
right? But always learning.
That's
And
trying to share what I learned.
and try to share what you've learned. The Queen of Sheba has many names. Tell us about
Yes.
those names and the thrones. And she's
me get
also,
mine.
even in the Bible, called the
Cheaters.
Queen of the South.
Yes.
Which means
The South.
not down south.
The South
All
world.
the South world. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Some of the titles that she carries: Queen Sheba III. Another, Her Royal Majesty Yomogwatele Korte I. Another, the Empress of the Akan. Another, Her Royal Majesty Empress Queen Abina Nyamchi I. Another, Akyemfoman Akoshembe, Her Royal Majesty Queen Banziba of Gamoa. And some of the throne titles: she's a sovereign imperial matriarch, or the supreme imperial mother of the Nubia Sheba kingdoms. She's the Queen of the South. She's the imperial matriarch, Her Imperial Majesty, the Imperial Empress Sheba Ra III. She's Queen Sheba III of the Nubia Sheba Imperial Empire Kingdom. Queen Sheba III, the Queen of Sheba, the Queen of Nubia, and Yomogwatele Korte of Aseri Kapak Patsewe. Those are the titles that I know.
Why so many titles?
Different parts of the throne. Our people left the Nile Valley in settlements, and they moved north and east, they moved west, and they moved south, and then across the ocean. So those became separate kingdoms, but the same bloodlines followed. And they knew their bloodlines, and when she visited the various kingdoms, then she was given the title of their area, so to speak. Like in Ghana, the Akan people, which is probably the largest speaking group, she was Yomogwatele Korte, and the Korte name is in fact, there was a Korte that worked for Davenport here. He's at Monroe County Community College, president. He's part of the Korte royal family. Yeah.
Interesting.
Kojo Korte. So each one, you go into Cote d'Ivoire, and they're cousins like people across. The country lines were not established by the Africans. That was a European thing they did in 1882 and 83 in Berlin, Germany, and they carved up the continent and made countries.
Okay.
And so oftentimes you had kingdoms that overlapped. So the kingdom of Gamoa covers 3 different countries, and she's the queen of that. So
Okay.
recognized.
That is a lot of power for a woman
Well-
in our viewpoint. But talk about that, because
When we talk about power, the political systems that were set up in the various countries have diminished a lot of the power of the kings and queens. They put politicians and presidents in to run things, and we see what has come of that. We talk about graft, we talk about corruption, and that's all you hear. The African countries are corrupt. Well, the kings and queens are responsible for all of the people of the kingdom, not just the elites, not just the educated, but all the people. That's why you'll find a lot of princes and princesses living abroad, because they don't want that weight. Your responsibilities are to all the people. So your job is to look out for the people, to counsel the people, to be available for when people have issues, to solve disputes, all those things. What we are working with the kings and queens on are regaining that quote unquote power, so that all the people are looked out for, all the people are taken care of. And John Q does not have his $3 billion graft money in a Swiss bank somewhere that had come from the resources, and the people don't have schools.
Anything.
Yeah. So that's part of the goal, is to make sure that the resources benefit the people of the kingdoms. And there's over 2,000 kingdoms on the continent of Africa.
that is a lot.
I had no clue until about
Wow.
8 years ago.
Does the Queen of Sheba, or has she ever just visited the United States?
Yes, she was here. There's a story behind that too. She was here, I think, in '07 and '08, and that was before I even knew she existed. And I found out after the fact. But she was given an award in UN, at the UN, and was unable to get a visa. They withheld the visa until the last minute when she couldn't get flight to come and receive the award. So King Quartet had to receive the award for her. This was in 2014, just before we installed.
So are there plans for her maybe
Well,
to come back
that's
that you
up to
know
the
of?
officials in the United States. But she has awards from the city of Los Angeles, from the California State Senate, the California State House, for her work amongst the people in those areas.
Okay. And tell us more about the coronation. What was that? Was it a day, or was it a week, or did it go on and on?
It was just a one day celebration. There were about 8 ministers in the coronary parade, and there was about 12 young people, dancers and singers, that led us up path to the castle and to the throne.
So it was in the streets like a parade?
Well, yeah, but everything was on the castle grounds. So we came down from the backside of the castle and up the main road to where the people were, excuse me, and then up onto the pavilion.
Where were you positioned? Were you on I don't want to say a float.
No, they decided not to use the horses and carriage. She wanted the white horse and carriage, and there was some kind of issue, so we walked.
Okay.
I was walking a couple paces behind the Empress with the scepter, the royal scepter.
Is it heavy?
No. Well,
Okay.
Yeah, because she has to
Okay.
hold it. So
So you're
it was like
carrying
being
the
in
scepter.
a movie. Yes.
You are carrying.
I had it in the case, custom case. Yes, I was the scepter bearer. In the
That's a
procession.
position of honor.
It was way beyond anything I could have fathomed. See, I came from Goodrich Street, right,
South High School.
a block from the river originally.
Okay.
And to be in something this magnanimous was, it wasn't quite overwhelming, but it was humbling, very, very humbling that this little guy from the west side, the near west side, could be able to be recognized and invited to participate at that level, a worldwide event. I just wish my mom could.
Yeah.
Well, I know in spirit she saw
Right,
saw her
right.
baby.
You had to be so proud.
Because she always taught me, stay humble. You're not the smartest person in the world, even though you're bright. Stay humble. Treat people like you want to be treated. Help people when you can. Show people what you know. And you'll be all right. And sure enough, here I was in the coronation for the Queen. And going back for the World Peace Committee Summit.
You're going back to the World Peace Committee. This is in
Yeah, have you ever seen the gong, the big gong that the World Peace Committee
Yeah.
hits? Well, that's what's being held in South Africa.
Ah.
And she was named vice president of the World Peace Committee. And it's being held there in South Africa for the first time.
Okay.
They're gathering people from 202 nations invited.
What will your role be?
I'm not 100% what my role will be. That's why I'm going in early and I'll find out what I have to do. So
Okay, and you're
I'll
ready.
have 10 days to gear up for my function. I think I went in about 2 weeks early on this last trip
Okay.
and found what I would do. And so I was able to bone up on what I need to do.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll present or not, but I'll be ready.
That's the important thing, is to always be ready.
prepared.
You don't know what could come up. So more about the coronation. You're walking, you're carrying, you're the scepter bearer. Okay, and then what happens?
We get, if they show that picture again, we get to
We have a picture of that?
Yeah, well, we don't have
Okay.
the procession, but we have at the throne, you'll see there's a South African man on her left, which would be the right of the screen. He actually,
Is this it?
no, well, that's directly afterwards,
Okay.
after the coronation. That's the scepter that I carried. He
Oh,
carried
that's
the
in her
crown.
hand. Okay.
Yeah, he
That's you
carried
at
the crown.
Dinner.
Right.
Okay.
The crown was in a specific case. He carried the crown, I carried the scepter. We marched behind her. And the woman that was in the picture, she held her train.
Okay.
And they're both from South Africa.
Okay. And then what happens when you get inside the castle?
Well, everything was out
Oh, it was
on the
outside.
pavilion, and the people were down from the front. It was like a big portico.
Was it like thousands of people who come out for this?
Hundreds.
Hundreds,
Yeah.
okay.
And then afterwards, there was a dinner celebration with several hundred dignitaries and people from various parts of Africa, a few from outside the United States, some from Europe. And
So did you take a lot of pictures and videotapes and take a lot of notes?
I didn't. I'm not a picture taker anymore. I used to be a photographer. I always shooting, but I was involved, and people were approaching me and asking me questions, and so I was engaged quite a bit with ambassadors and foreign ministers, and they're wanting to know about this and how can I get in touch with the Queen, and may I take a picture with the Queen, and can my daughter or my wife take a picture with the Queen? So I ended up in that role too.
Yeah, okay, kind of being the middleman in a sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you stay in contact with the Queen of Sheba?
Yes.
Okay. What do you call her? Oh, well, Her Majesty.
Yes.
Yes.
Mostly. Sometimes I say Empress.
Empress.
Most time, Your Majesty.
Okay.
I don't call her by her name.
You don't call her by her first
No,
name.
I call her by her title. Your Majesty.
Right, right.
Sometimes I will say Your Imperial Majesty. Because
How old is she?
56.
Okay. She's very beautiful. And from what you've told us, very intelligent as well.
Amazing.
Yes.
And she can recite throne history from thousands of years. She can take you back, excuse me, into the Old Testament and tell you the actual names of the people.
Okay.
Some of the names were changed.
Okay. Okay.
And she can tell you, she tells you who, what, when, what time period, where they went, all this. Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
What, well, one, we want to be sure to cover anything else that you want to cover about the Queen. I know there's so much that you want to cover before this show ends. You know, I know we'll have to have you back another for another show. One of
problem.
these days, you will bring the Queen of Sheba to Time to Talk. But prophesize that. Okay.
right.
So anyway, what else would you like to share with us before we leave today?
She knows, and she asked me directly, because I don't profess any religious affiliation. I'm a spiritual being, and I respect people's religions, and I've studied most of the majors. And I said, well, to her, how will I fit in? And she says, do you believe in God? And so I asked, how are you asking that question? What do you mean?
That's
Do
what
you
she
believe in-
asked
yeah.
you?
No, I did. And
You
she's-
asked yourself?
I asked her.
Oh, you asked her?
Yeah.
What
do you-
religion
no,
is she?
No, what do you mean when you ask, do I believe in God?
Oh, okay. She asked you that.
She
Then
asked
you
me if I... and
asked
I-
her a question.
Question with
Okay,
a question.
Okay.
And it went to where it was my turn again. And I said, well, I believe that there's an almighty force, people call it different names, that produce what we have and what we see, the trees, the flowers, the human beings and all. I believe that. And she says, that's good. You're okay. So you don't have to believe a specific way, as long as you know that there is an almighty creator, you're good. And that gave me a bit of pause and comfort. So now I knew that I could deal directly with her, because when she uses God and God and God, and I'm,
What
how
religion
does she
is
mean
she?
that?
Or does she
I never
profess?
asked. I didn't ask.
You didn't ask. Okay. Okay.
Because I don't like to get into those discussions. She never talked about a particular religion. I know she went to a Catholic school as a youngster, but she always talks about it's not your religion that defines you. It's who you are as a human being. And that's really the theme throughout most religions. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you want done unto you. Follow the golden rule. If we all did that, there wouldn't be any wars. And that's her goal, to wipe out war, wipe out poverty, wipe out oppression, and bring the human family together. She's got a big job, and she's taking on the challenge.
What do you do day to day? You're involved in so many different things.
Well, I'm supposed to be retired. However, I'll be giving a lecture at the Jackson District Library on the 3rd on reparations. I
Which
received a
library?
call. Jackson, Michigan District Library.
okay.
It'll be a live feed. I'll give you, I don't have the address, but it's Jackson Public Library, something, but it's a live feed. Last year they
From
told
Jackson State
me,
University?
no, Jackson, Michigan.
Jackson, Michigan. Okay.
Jackson, Michigan.
And it's from the library there?
Yeah, the library
So maybe
puts it
if
on.
people looked up the library?
Right. It's a 3-part series, and I'll be kicking it off on
When
the
does
3rd.
it start? Do you know?
February 3rd.
Okay.
I think it's a Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'll be discussing reparations, why, who benefits, and why all Americans should have a view of it. So
Why do you tell me these things at the last minute? And then I'm like, oh, no, that's another show. I'm just messing with you. But that is a good show.
Yes. And reparations is something that I've been dealing with about 30 plus years, studying the history of reparations. My mom really taught me about reparations. You break somebody's stuff, you
gotta pay
apologize.
for it.
Well, you apologize, and you fix it,
Make it right.
just like your mom. This country refuses to apologize for the damage their ancestors and them today are doing to people of African descent.
Or to even
However,
admit,
yeah.
acknowledge that anything happened.
However, they take your tax dollar and my tax dollar and they send it to the state over in the so-called Middle East, and we didn't send them in gas ovens. We didn't do anything, in fact, fought a war. But they're paying reparations along with Germany, England, and France. To this day, they pay reparations. They paid the Japanese that they incarcerated during World War II, they paid them reparations. Several native tribes, land and money, reparations. They rebuilt Japan after they nuked them twice. So they pay reparations. They won't even discuss reparations for the people that they kidnapped, brought here, forced to work till they died, and their children mistreated, redlined, you name it. So this is part of what I'll be discussing. And it's every citizen's duty to stand up and do what's right. We've been here 400 years and people say, well, you don't like it, go leave. Leave? Pilgrim, we were here before you got here. Because most Europeans came in the 1800s and the 1900s. So they buy into that.
Okay. This has been a wonderful discussion. It's gone too fast. I just realized we're out of time. But His Excellency Commissioner Numo Talib El-Amin, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For being with us on Time to Talk. Again,
Hey.
we go back
Your
like
mom.
30, my mom, oh yeah, she thought, so you were one of her sons. She had so many sons
Absolutely.
in
And I
the
was
community.
proud to be. Proud.
Thank you.
Special lady.
Thank you.
She had a heart of gold.
Yes, yes.
Remind me of my mom.
Thank you. And thank you for the work you're doing, and keep us informed of what's going on.
Okay, will do.
Website? Or a number for you?
African-Kingdoms-Federation.com. Kingdoms with an S.
Okay.
Or African-Royal-Kingdoms.com.
Thank you. Thank you for being on Time to Talk. And thank you for watching. Hope you learned something today. I know you did. Okay, bye-bye.